Hi, my name is Bessie, and welcome to my channel, Essence of. In this raw and unfiltered video, I open up about what it really means to create when your world is falling apart. I talk about the loss of my child, the deep insecurities of grief, the struggle in my relationship, and how I'm navigating unemployment. Everybody. Spiritual warfare and the haunting feeling of being left behind by life. This isn't a how-to video. It's really to let you know where I am. If you've ever lost in your own story, I hope this video reminds you that you're not alone and that sometimes surviving is enough. Lately, I've been unlearning a lot of things, especially around what it means to create content, to show up, to speak. For the longest time, I think really my concept of understanding content creation, I believe that it was about knowing things. Like you had to have the answers, you had to be put together, you had to be an expert or have sufficient knowledge. I mean, it does make sense. You really do need to have sufficient knowledge. But knowledge to the point where you have to know exactly what's going on for you to be able to speak about something and be knowledgeable in it, right? But lately, I've been learning a lot that that's not it, at least not for me. Creation to creation isn't about having it all figured out. It's about telling the truth, even if it's messy and even if it hurts, even if your voice shakes while you're doing it. I find myself creating from a place of pain these days, not because I want to, but because I have to. Because if my story can help someone else feel seen, then maybe it's worth going through the trouble. I lost my child. A lot of us, we mask pain with light chuckles or we laugh. I think it's easy for me not to think or pay too much attention to it so that I actually don't cry. And losing my child, I'll be honest, there are no words that hold that kind of pain. If you've ever lost a kid, you really understand what I'm talking about. Grief doesn't show up in a straight line. It doesn't give you a roadmap. Tell me about it. It's not something that you can navigate. But isn't life is like that as well. You can't really navigate it. You don't really know the rules. You don't really know how things are going to happen, but they do happen. It just arrives and it stays. You don't have a roadmap to grief. It really just happens. Sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly, but always it's there. Some days I wake up and I feel okay. I've heard people say that, grief is very inconsistent. It's a very inconsistent. It's like that toxic boyfriend. So basically, you never know what you're going to expect at each moment. Some days you wake up, you're feeling good. Some days you're great. Some days things are great in the relationship, and then all of a sudden things turn around and you don't know what happened. Not that you don't know what happened, but you get the point. Some days I wake up, I feel okay. I get through the day, I function, and then without warning, it hits me all over again. The empty space, the ache, the questions I'll never get answers to. Not being able to hold my baby. And what makes it even harder, the fact that grief changes everything around you, not just inside you. If you've gone through grief or you're going through it right now, you know what I mean. Relationships with the people closest to you start to feel shaky. At times when I needed consistency the most, it just wasn't there. Not because people didn't care, but because they didn't know how to hold what I was holding. They didn't, people can really understand from a certain standpoint through what you share with them, but they can never really understand something until they actually experience it. And that hurts. Not having people that can really understand something as you're going through it. On top of all of this, my relationship is struggling. We're both grieving, but differently. And in that difference, I'm realizing that I don't understand half of the things that he's had to experience. And he doesn't understand half of the things that I'm having to experience. We may have an idea of the understanding of the experience that we're both, the grieving that we're doing differently. but we can never really understand it. My partner he had to show up for the both of us financially in order for us to bury our child. And he's been going through it. And what I've realized is he hasn't had the time to heal. He hasn't had the time to grieve. It's only been 2 months. So healing is really is something that we can't attain now, but we are attaining it with every day. And just because he's having to deal with things financially, he's stressing about different things that I may not even understand, because I never had to show up financially, and that's the weight that he carried for the both of us. And even though, it's easy for you to be in that situation and say, yeah, your partner is having to carry the financial weight in regards to what you are faced with and the challenge that you're experiencing. You may think that, okay, no, I understand. But there comes a time that gets to a point where you feel like, because your partner has to focus, or because my partner had to focus so much on the financial side of things, and they had to give a lot of their time to financial commitments or financial endeavors, so that they could actually come up with the finances. And not just with the funeral, but my contract ended, my work contract ended shortly after my child's funeral, and that was a lot. And that means he's now carrying the weight of the burial of our child, the cost of that, and then the cost of having to sustain me as well, and himself. And there were points where I felt abandoned, or I felt neglected, not because he wanted to, but because of these financial obligations that he has to meet. And I can only understand it from association of what he shares with me. I can't fully understand having to grieve, really not even have the time, but go through such trauma and carry that trauma into having to navigate everyday life on top of that. And we fight a lot, because I became patient, but my patience wore very thin. Like, my patience was very short-circuited, it was short-lived. And I thought I was being patient to the extent that I needed to be patient. And on top of that, I'm also going through my own things, and it's challenging as it is. And having to literally wake up, you're lactating, and there's no child, there's no child to suckle on your boobs. I had a C-section, so the scar and the body changes. My body really changed. Your body does change after you give birth to a child. And everybody is just expecting you to just carry on. Like, every day they ask you, how are you? At some point it became such a difficult question to answer, because you just don't even know how to answer it. You don't know what to say. You don't have the answer for that, because you don't even know yourself how you're feeling. We lost our child 2 days after he was born. He was born with Edwards syndrome, which is scientifically known as trisomy 18. At first, I'll be honest, when he was born, the doctor assessed whilst I was on the table. The doctor then said something, your baby doesn't look normal. And imagine you are laying on the table. There's nothing you can do. Half of your body is numb. You can't do anything about it. You really have restricted movement, which is your upper body. You want to jump off the table to go see what they're talking about in regards to why they're saying there's something wrong with my baby. My baby couldn't breathe, and they had to get him to breathe, and it took them almost 2 minutes to get him to breathe. And just looking at him, and finally having the opportunity to be able to go see him in the neonatal unit. And I felt like I didn't want to associate or connect with him, because after the assessment with with what the pediatrician made, and him letting me know little glimpses that, yeah, there's something wrong with the baby. And then him having to tell me to call my family, to call my partner and my family. I called, and we all sat down. And as we sat down, he basically explained everything. I was numb and in pain, physically and emotionally. I watched my mom, my sister. I literally saw my sister cry a few minutes after the doctor shared what was going on. I looked at my partner, and I could tell that he was broken. My dad couldn't even see the child, couldn't see my baby. He requested not to see the child because he didn't have the strength to do it. Because they were given the opportunity to go see him. His name is Zazzle. And that experience was short of traumatic. The day he passed away, it's so crazy. The day he passed away, I asked the nurse, it was a Saturday morning. I asked the nurse if my partner called. He said, listen, can I come and see the child? And I said, well, based on what happened last time, you were not even allowed into the unit because there was another baby as well. And he said, I trust in you. You can make something happen. Just see if I can get in, And I was like, okay, let me see what I can do. Through God's grace, the nurses that were on duty, they were kind enough to allow me to let him into the unit. I immediately called him. He came all the way because it wasn't in the same place. It wasn't in the same city. So the hospital that I was at was out of town. So he came, he drove, and he came in. The nurse literally said, please make sure you leave when you need to leave, but don't stay too long. It felt like God was literally smiling on us, because here my partner is able to actually see his son. So we go into the unit. I basically say, tell him who you are. And he starts crying. His eyes weren't open at this point. I was like, hey, why don't you hold him? He held him. And he smiled. He smiled twice. He never smiled with me. And he smiled twice. He smiled at his dad twice. And his dad left. A couple of hours later, the oxygen tank didn't work. And I'm literally sitting beside my child, and he's gasping for oxygen. He keeps going. Now imagine a little tiny body going through that. And then the nurses took their time to assist me. And because this is a government hospital, the resources are limited. They took their time to assist me, which was, I felt like ripping my eyes out. Finally, they got to me, and they called a porter. And this porter fixed fixed this oxygen tank, and okay, we're back to stability. Things were good, but I swore not to leave his side. So I just sat by his side the whole time. And then I noticed that, okay, things are looking good. Things are looking stable. There's no need to worry. So I decided, let me go and pack up everything so that when I go back to bed, everything is just organized. I left to go pack up. I can't even tell you how long it was. I think it must have been maybe even 15 minutes or 30, I don't know. I went back into the neonatal unit. I looked at my son and he looked lifeless. He had passed away. I kid you, it wasn't more than 1 hour. It wasn't more than 1 hour. I was not away from his bedside for more than an hour. And when I went back, he had passed away. It took me some time for that to click in my mind that he's no longer alive. I then went to call the nurse. They tried to resuscitate him, and I remember clearly the pediatrician explained to us as a family. He said, in most cases like this, when children who have such a syndrome, they cannot be resuscitated. And as they were trying to do that, I was like, look at these nurses with a lack of knowledge, or I don't know what the situation is. I guess maybe it's because of medical protocol, you have to resuscitate. But I remember clearly the pediatrician said, you can't resuscitate them because it's heart failure. It's a lot of things, but mostly heart failure, lung failure that could cause this. And resuscitation won't help anything. They tried for about 10 minutes and they then told me to go to my bed. I refused. I stood outside. And they basically left. They eventually left the unit. I went back in and they just left him like that. Didn't cover him, nothing. And I went to them and I asked, what's going on? Is he gone? And they said, we're waiting for the doctor. The doctor will come and let us know what's going on. And I saw it for myself. I didn't need convincing that my baby had passed away. So I had to quickly come to terms with that. I held him. It was like I went through my own letting go experience, even though that was very hard. I held him and I said my goodbye for the moment. And as I held him, I didn't have the opportunity to hold him much because he was under oxygen, so he had an oxygen helmet, so he couldn't really move much. So I held him and I went outside and I called his dad. And I told him that I think that Sazu's passed away, but we're waiting on the doctor to confirm that. And he said, should I come? And I said, maybe give it a few minutes, maybe he'll come. A few minutes passed, he didn't come. I called him back and I told him, he's gone. I think he's gone. And he came back to the hospital the same day. And I saw it for myself. I didn't need to wait for the doctor. I saw it for myself. Finally, the doctor came after my partner arrived. We waited for about an hour. We went in there. We went in there with the doctor. He finally arrived, the doctor, and we went into the unit with the doctor, and he just basically explained to us that I'm confirming that your child has passed away. And I wanted to leave the hospital because I couldn't stay. It was too traumatic for me to stay. And the nurses refused. They were refusing for me to stay. And I literally said to the doctor, listen, I'm not staying here. I need to be discharged. Because if I stay here, I'm not going to be able to, I don't think I'll be able to get through the night. The doctor allowed it. I packed up my stuff. And as I was packing up, I felt like I was leaving something behind. Finally, our son was taken to the morgue of the hospital, and we left. As we left, my partner's father met us outside the hospital, and it was hard. My partner wailed all the way back from the hospital to the city. He wailed all the way, and we were both so excited to welcome our child to first time parents, and things. We were so excited for everything, you know. Our parents were excited. Those that knew were excited. And this is what we were dealt with, which was extremely difficult to process. And with it being so heavy to process, we had to find the strength. I swore never to go back to that hospital, but I had to go back to get my baby's birth and death certificates done. Oh, that was really, really tough. And just having to experience that as a young couple who was ready to welcome their first child and not being able to do so. And now my partner and I are in a season where nothing feels certain. I don't know if we're going to come out of this stronger or further apart. I know this. Grief doesn't just take one thing from you. Sometimes it tests every part of your life, including love, spirituality. That feels like a battle. It's been feeling like a battle for the longest of time. I feel myself being pulled in so many different directions. I feel like giving up, like screaming at God. Sometimes I don't even know what to say to him. Sometimes I'm so angry. It's unemployment, it's grieving, it's searching for purpose, it's not being financially okay. It's all these things. And I don't even know how to navigate it all. I talk to God sometimes in whispers, sometimes in tears, sometimes nothing at all. I don't know how everything is going to unfold, make sense, how we're going to get through this. I don't have the answers, but I guess I just have to hold on to faith. We both have to hold on to faith. But somewhere deep inside, I believe that things will shift, that healing will come, that it'll work again. I'll be able to create again, have purpose, have direction, feel joy. And not just joy that's temporary, that one that lasts. If you're listening to this right now, if you've ever felt like this, if you've ever lost somebody or something that shattered you, if you've ever watched your life come undone and wonder if you'll ever survive, you will. You will get through it. You are getting through it. Just know that it is your story, and with life, seasons as seasons, and with each season comes its pain or joy. And this is my story, and I hope that this is something that can help you and show you that you're not alone, and that despite whatever that you're experiencing, you will get through it. You will get through it. You may not know what to do, but just know that even if it means you having to breathe just through to make it through the day, do exactly that. Take care of your heart and keep going. Keep going. Grief is not easy. Pain isn't easy either. But challenges are meant to draw something out of us, even when we feel like we're at our wits' end. You got this. Keep going.